So what I've got here is just a very basic little concept plan. What I've done is I've got a surface which I've placed in as the whole of the site. I've got another surface as the driveway, a surface for each of the 2 garages, and a surface on each of the dwellings, and then a surface for the upstairs. So what we're going to do is put in a little areas table. So I'll just grab one of my standard ones like this for the, and that is the wrong scale. So we'll just change our plot scale up to a 1 to 100. And we've got just a little table here that I've laid out. The purple lines are non-plotting lines. They just give me a nice constant spot where I can snap on a intersecting point to line up the value that I want in the position. We're going to change to our dimension tools up the top with dimension, which is also the hotkey is a slash on the keyboard, which is just above your enter key. And that takes you into your dimensions. I've got a macro that I've got set up called area, and that just sets all my settings the right way. We'll come back to that at the end. I'll show you how to set up the settings. And then what we're using is this up here, area dimension. And you first up, you're prompted with insert where the position of the dimension's going. And then you select the plane that is represented by, that you want the area of. And I've got it set up so that it prompts for a suffix, and I'm using m squared, or you could go SQM and place that. And that appears then on the table in that location. Now, if I was to say, modify the plane, where we're just going to go plane offset and select the plane, select the edge, select the title boundary, and say we want to actually come off a full meter off that boundary. That modifies the plane, and you'll see over here it's updated the area. Typically when I'm doing concept plans, I don't actually do a table off to the side. I will actually put it straight onto the area onto the plan, and I will do something along the lines of go to properties and say, yes, I want to put a prefix in, and okay that. And right, so with the prefix set, I can then go to area, and I can say select here, select the plane itself. It's prompting for a prefix, so I might put in GND. If you don't put a space on the prefix, it will then sandwich it straight up against your area. So if your prefix is something like dwelling 1 on a 40 square metre garage, it then reads garage 140 square metres. Not so good, unless you like a big garage. And similarly with the suffix, putting a space will place it away from the area value, or no space will put it hard against it. So there we've got ground. I can then do the same again, select the location just above, select the other plane, which is the first floor, change my prefix, and get an area that way. Same on the driveway, if you wanted to put drive. And it places the area of the driveway on the driveway. If you wanted to edit the prefix, you can come up here and go edit prefix or suffix. For instance, if you wanted to say, no, I want it in meters squared, and go that direction. Or if you want to edit your prefix, once you have a prefix, you can actually just go, no, I don't want a prefix. Just have your area like that. And because the setting is actually set for prefix yes, that means then when you go edit prefix and edit again, it will say yes, you can edit the prefix even knowing there's no text there. It's set so that it can handle a prefix, and you can just place in your prefix like so. What I typically do is when it comes to floor plans, actually placing the actual area. So you'll see here that that will have not done the right thing. I can edit that prefix, get rid of the driveway. What I'll normally do is once I've actually got all my table filled out, I'll actually then select the whole table. I'll change my view to, I have an area schedule view, and I'll show my table in that particular view. And this is where I'll put my plot boundary around just the table, and then I can place that onto my drawing sheet wherever I like in relation to my floor plan. So that's what I do with concept plans. I've got a little floor plan that I've been working on, which I typically have the plane that is my floor plan has carried over from the concept plan and been edited and modified as I've gone. And then I've got, say, an area on the floor plan. That doesn't mean that you can't then put a second area on. So again, we'll pop in the table. I'll edit just unpack that and edit the text and run my macro just to get my settings the way I like them. Go area, ground floor, garage. I can use the porch. In this case, it's a floor. If I edit the floor, it leaves it as a locked plane. If you're wanting to do, say, an area as a terrace, it's best to have a specific plane for the terrace. You can then place one from the first floor, so you can just put your placement. You can change your view to your first floor, select your first floor plane, and OK. And when you go back to the view that had your table in it, it's actually filled it in there as well. After you've filled out your table, again, we can just go to the area schedule. You can show it either just in that view or in both views. Typically, I will hide it in the original view. So you can do that by just pressing Control and hide in all other views. So now when we go back to our ground floor, there's no table there at all. But on my area schedule, there's my table. Providing you've placed it away from the building, you won't have it overlapping with anything. And then that's ready to just go straight onto your drawing sheet, separate to your floor plan. So we can go new drawing sheet. So we can, now I don't know whether you guys are familiar with the fact that you can just, because we've got a plot boundary on here, we can just grab the view, drag it down and place it straight onto the drawing sheet. It will then flick over to the drawing sheet, bring up the settings, and you can place on your drawing sheet. Jump back to our area schedule and place that onto your drawing sheet. And because they're two separate views, you can just place them any which way you like, rearrange them. Works quite well that way. Now if we were to jump back into our dwelling, and let's say we were able to gain an extra metre into our lounge room, I have the plane. I just edit the plane edge. So select the plane, select the edge, select the line. That updates this dimension here. And on our area schedule, it is updated as well, which is great for just keeping everything consistent. So I'll just quickly take you through the settings. So in your dimensions, under your properties, the main things you're going to want to do is set your precision. So obviously with it being meters, whether you want it with 1 or 2 or 0 decimal places, set your precision. You can set your units to meters. And if you set your units to meters, you can then have your units here as 1. And when you place that'll work. Or if you don't want to set your units, you can just use your default units, and because we're working in millimeters, you then need to go 001 0.001 to convert from square millimeters to square meters. You've got prefix and suffix, as you saw before with us putting things on. You can set your text height, and I'm just trying to think, is there any other settings? Really, that's probably the main ones you need to get right. If you haven't got value turned on, obviously it's not going to show you the value, but they're your main settings that you need to set. What I've done with the macros is I've actually got a series of standard settings that I use, and so I can just select from the pull-down menu, and it will set all the settings required to do these different type of, so if we got area bold, I would typically use that more on a concept plan where we're wanting something, or on a garden area plan, something like that. And we can, obviously it will be larger and a brighter color, and it's taken to 1 decimal place. So the other alternative way of doing things, if you don't want to write up a macro, is you can just go through, set all your settings the way you like them, save them into a little file like this one here. You can then just insert, and I've got a series of different dimensions here. And so if I'm wanting to do a setback from, say, a boundary in there, I can then just go to my dimensions, go properties, copy, use the setback setting, and then place my dimension. And in this case, I didn't want the suffix with square meters, so I can just edit the suffix. So any of the different types of areas, again, it's just properties, copy, select the style of dimension that you're wanting to use, okay that, and then go area, place it, select the plane, and that places your area dimension wherever you want it.